everyone, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be both summarizing and reviewing the 41st and final novel in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, The Shepherd's Crown, starting with the summary. Prologue, A Crown in the Chalk. Something is born out of the Circle C. A shepherd of the chalk known as Daniel Aching finds it and brings the crown home. It has been handed down from one Aching to the next over the generations. Chapter 1, Where the Wind Blows. Tiffany feels a strong urge to visit the stones that serve as the gateway to Fairyland. Rob Anybody had been sent there by the Kelda to keep an eye on the stones as well. Tiffany consults the Kelda, who informs her that something's not right. The veil between the worlds is thin and can be easily broken, but the stones stand, so the gateway is closed. Although it's unlikely that the Queen will come through, the Kelda is afraid. She insists the Feagles will keep watch and suggests that Tiffany begin building a life for herself outside witchcraft. Joffrey, Lord Swivel's third son, decides that he wants to be free, that he wants to be a witch, after watching a hawk and a witch flying together. He is told he cannot because he's a man. Joffrey stands up to his father and leaves home with his goat Mephistopheles, following a disagreement about hunting for sport. Chapter 2, A Voice in the Darkness. Granny prepares for Death's arrival. Death comes to collect her. Miss Tick crafts a shamble and learns that something is wrong. The magical community senses Granny's passing. An elf lord, Peas Blossom, knows that a barrier has gone and they will be weak. Jeannie sends Rob and some of the boys to look after Tiffany. Chapter 3, An Upside Down World. Nanny and Tiffany find Granny's body and a note explaining that Granny has left everything but her cat to Tiffany. The witches prepare Granny's body to be buried. Tiffany doubts she can fill Granny's shoes. News of Granny's death continues to spread. People expect the witches to squabble over her steading. Some suspect Tiffany will get it. Peas Blossom plots his takeover of Fairyland, trip through the gateway, and impending ability to play with humans. Chapter 4, A Farewell and a Welcome. Nanny and Tiffany bury Granny. Tiffany wonders who the new leader the witches don't have will be now that Granny is gone. Nanny suspects it will be Tiffany. Many come to pay their respects, including the Arch-Chancellor, an old love interest. The funeral is held and Nanny reveals to the gathered witches that Tiffany is to be Granny's successor. Granny's bees crown Tiffany and welcome her home. Tiffany Aching officially becomes the witch to follow. Chapter 5, A Changing World. The Elvish Queen longs for revenge and a spot of fun. She wonders where Peas Blossom, whom she dislikes and doesn't trust, is. The Queen speaks with a goblin prisoner about why they plan to rebel. She learns it's because of their mistreatment in her world, while they are treated well as citizens in the human realm. The goblin threatens her with iron and suggests she go and see how the world has changed for herself now that it's easier, with the old witch gone. The Queen decides to see if he's lying. Tiffany returns to the chalk and speaks to the Kelda, who informs her this is a time of transition. Mistress Weatherwax is no longer with us, and her going leaves a hole that others will not fail to see. We must watch the gateways, and ye must take great care. For them ye don't wish to know might be seeking ye out. That's on page 74. Tiffany struggles with the time it takes to get everything done for both her steadings. Tiffany's father gives her the shepherd's crown her grandmother had once owned. Chapter 6, Around the Houses. Joffrey and Goat make their way to Lancre. They stop in a bar where Joffrey breaks up a brawl with Logic and is invited to work. He does for 2 days before moving on. Tiffany continues to struggle with both her steadings. Tiffany speaks to Miss Tick about finding an apprentice she can train for help. Miss Tick agrees to keep an eye out. Chapter 7, A Force of Nature. Mrs. Earwig pays Tiffany a visit to see how she is coping with the new steading. She makes it clear that she feels she should take Granny's place. Tiffany puts her in her place and sends the senior witch on her way. The Queen and her raiding party have a little fun in the human realm before taking notice of the train. Chapter 8, The Baron's Arms. The Chalk is proud of his witch, but Roland informs Tiffany that its people wish she was around more. After Peas Blossom is attacked by their goblin prisoner since the Queen failed to protect him, the elves retreat to Fairyland. After pointing out the Queen's weakness, her alleged fears of the human realm, and how times have changed in their disfavor, Peas Blossom usurps her throne. The former Queen's wings are to be torn off and she is exiled. Chapter 9, Good with Goats. Joffrey arrives on Tiffany's doorstep and announces that he wishes to be a witch. Tiffany agrees to give him a shot by making him her back house boy and enlisting his help with an old man's terrible toenails. Chapter 10, Treasure. Peas Blossom announces that he plans to take back the human world. Joffrey continues to make rounds and help out. He begins fitting in and suggests manchas to the local males to help them get away from their wives. Tiffany introduces Joffrey to the Feagles and discovers that they already know each other. The Feagles view him as a treasure. Tiffany takes Joffrey to meet the Kelda. She says, I sees that you are one of those who can stop a fight, bring peace, and instructs Tiffany to treasure him on page 140. Chapter 11, The Big City. Tiffany and Joffrey head to Ankh-Morpork to have Granny's broomstick repaired. It will be Joffrey's first. Tiffany visits Preston at the hospital. It goes well, and he has been promoted to surgeon. Tiffany and Joffrey return home on their broomsticks. Chapter 12, An Elf Among the Feagles. The Queen is thrown out of Fairyland bleeding, her wings having been torn from her back. Tiffany wakes up. The Feagles find the Queen and take her prisoner. Others keep watch on the stones for other incoming elves. The Feagles are surprised there is only one elf. The Kelda sends for Tiffany. Tiffany answers her summons. Tiffany and the Kelda discover that the elf is the queen known as Nightshade, the one Tiffany had defeated as a girl. Tiffany decides to give her a sanctuary despite the Feagles' wishes because of the queen's sorry state, but promises the elven captive will be punished, if not killed, should she misbehave. Chapter 13, Mischief and Worse. The elves continue to reign the human realm, causing mischief and killing humans. Chapter 14, A Tale of Two Queens. Tiffany patches the queen up. The queen explains that Peas Blossom threw her out of fairyland. Tiffany agrees to help her regain her throne if she promises to keep all the elves out of the human realm and in their own. There will be trouble if she does not comply. The queen discovers that the goblin prisoner had been telling the truth. The queen learns of how people help one another and feels it would not work for elves, who fight over everything and kill their queens. Margaret offers to help Tiffany with the elves. Tiffany accepts. Tiffany tells Margaret about Nightshade. Chapter 15, The God in the Barrow. Tiffany is forced to kill a trio of elves that tried to steal a baby. Nanny suggests that Tiffany speak to the king of the elves. Tiffany visits him, explains what is going on, and tries to enlist his help. The king seems more interested in his daily pleasures than her woes and protecting his kind. Tiffany has the Feagles construct a shed for him. She doubts it will sway him to her cause. Tiffany teaches the queen about friends, making the best of things, and more. Chapter 16, Mr. Sideways. Joffrey deals with Mr. Sideways' hobnail. Margaret recruits Letitia. The elvish queen removes the glamour Peas Blossom had lain. She and Tiffany have become friends. Mr. Sideways shows Joffrey his weapons collection and the one he is working on. Chapter 17, An Argument of Witches. The witches meet to discuss what to do about the elves. Nightshade shows them what a glamour feels like to help prepare them. Mrs. Earwig is the only one unaffected. Nightshade reveals that the elves will strike that night during the full moon everywhere that the barriers are weak. Tiffany realizes they're going to have to split their forces between the Chalk and Lanker to face them. Tiffany and the Feagles are amongst those set to defend the Chalk. That night, the Shepherd's Crown speaks to Tiffany. It seeks a true shepherd, but later announces that Tiffany Aching is the first among shepherds, for she puts others before herself. That's on page 238. Chapter 18, The Shepherd's Crown. The elves had made their way back into the human realm. The war begins. The witches and their allies swiftly defeat the elves in Lanker and send them back to their realm. The battle on the Chalk doesn't go as smoothly. Peas Blossom slays a fully restored Nightshade after she declares her friendship with Tiffany. Tiffany conjures a storm which frightens several of the elves away. Tiffany summons the king of the elves. He kills Peas Blossom with a single smack for the murder of Nightshade. Then Tiffany banishes him and the remaining elves from her land. Lady Nightshade is to be buried. Chapter 19, Peace. Peace descends upon the disc. The witches meet. The women of the mountains agree to take on 2 trainees whom they hope will one day help Tiffany on the Chalk. Joffrey, the Calm Weaver, is given Granny's old cottage and steading since Tiffany can't handle 2. Margaret and Varence make Joffrey a royal ambassador. Epilogue, A Whisper on the Chalk. Tiffany enlists the local carpenter's help to teach her carpentry. She constructs a shepherd's hut close to her granny's grave over the course of several weeks and moves into it. And that's the end of the novel. Now, onto my book review. I enjoyed this novel. It was a short, fast-paced read filled with fun, although I was sad to see Granny go. With that being said, the novel's ending and resolution came around abruptly. It felt like there was a lot of build-up to the final showdown between the elves and the humans, and then everything was resolved rapidly, as though it was barely an inconvenience in one chapter. One chapter! I definitely would have liked to have seen more of the battle. I also thought Joffrey was a sweet character and enjoyed his introduction, and felt as though Tiffany really continued to grow in this novel by allowing him to train with her and take over Granny's steading. And this is really what the Tiffany Aching novels are all about, growth. The series is her coming of age, maturing from a young girl into a young woman, a fledgling into the Witch of the Chalk, the Hag o' the Hills. It was definitely my favorite set of books in the series, especially if we discount I Shall Wear Midnight. This novel, while enjoyable, was also a sad one. It marks the end of Granny Weatherwax, Tiffany Aching, and the Discworld. It was a fun ride, and will be sorely missed. So overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5-star rating. And there you have it, my summary and review of Terry Pratchett's The Shepherd's Crown. What did you think of my summary, my review, and this book if you read it? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you guys think. What did you think of all my reviews in general? And what was your favorite Discworld novel? Those are also things I'd like to know. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue, subscribe, ring that bell so you know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye guys.